one of the reasons I run is I like to kind of prove to myself that I can do hard things. That's what really brings me that passion. I'm not saying I was an unathletic person, but I wasn't like how I am now. My parents would, I'd say, take a military style way of parenting. It would be like, right, you're gonna have to run a lap of the block. From such an early age, I've just always been around just like athleticism. To be honest, it only started this year where I fully started trying to really get my head down and get the vlog stick out and whatever. Where I was like, you know what, I want to remember this. I then suddenly found that people wanted to watch the journey as well. I can look back on the hard sessions and think, it was hard, but you did it, and there's the proof is in the pudding. I'd say I'm proud of my first year of running and going into competitions for being so brave. If I was too scared, I probably wouldn't be where I was. And I'm happy I had the courage to kind of do that. So that makes me proud of myself for taking the leap, I guess.
Tabs, lovely to
Hello.
see you, first of all.
Lovely to see
Um,
you.
so you're actually quite new to the game in the sense where you only started running really 3, 4 years ago. So what is it that actually got you professionally competing in the sport, and how did your passion for it start in the first place?
So my journey with running began after lockdown. Like most people, I was struggling with just kind of, I think just because we were cooped up so much, I just felt like I kind of lost myself a bit. So I was like, right, I need to rejuvenate myself. I need to get over this like midlife crisis thing that I had. How you can have a midlife crisis at 14, I don't know, but here we are. And so I actually started CrossFit because my mum was a great CrossFitter, and I was so bad at the CrossFit. But they announced a running challenge in March on Strava. And I was like, right, if I can't do CrossFit, I need to at least be good at the running. And as I started doing runs every day to compete with these like much older people, I was like, wow, I actually kind of like this. And then like as days went on, I was like, Mum, you know what? I think I'm ready to leave the CrossFit alone. And I think I'm ready to take on running like properly. And so I then got taken down to my local track, and there's my mum. I got taken down to my local track, and I just started training and then entered into some local races, and it just kind of blossomed from there, I guess. It was just kind of just I felt like I just stumbled onto it. It just happened basically. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because like you say, you started when you were 14. I nearly made a comment about the midlife crisis thing being in my 20s. I thought, no, Jack, I'll leave it. I'll leave it. Don't get involved in that.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll call it a quarter life crisis, I think. Actually, that'd probably be a bit more fitting.
okay, I'll take that. I'll take that at
Okay,
least.
yeah.
That's a bit more apt.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think for a lot of people, to be fair, a lot of people did start after lockdown because, like you say,
Yeah.
people were stuck inside. People were just eager to get out there and get about, and that applies
Yeah.
to you in a way. Like
Yeah.
you started running after basically being stuck inside for so long, and here you
Yeah.
are today. And obviously, like it's developed into this passion, which
Yeah.
yeah, you're obviously really that you really love and are really invested in. Um,
Honestly, I've never been happier in my life. Running just brings this like this new energy that I didn't even know like the human body could unlock, I guess. And I really would recommend it to anyone. Like maybe not running necessarily, but just entering sport. I think sport is so good for you. And yeah, such a big advocate for it.
So tell us a little bit about that then. So you basically said before that you get this massive wave of euphoria every time
Yeah.
you do a run or you start competing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So what would you say it is specifically about running that gives you this sense of accomplishment and gives you all these positive vibes and these positive feelings? What would you say it is?
It's it's honestly it's the overcoming the challenge. The one of the reasons I run is I like to kind of prove to myself that I can do hard things, and that like when I complete that run or that workout, it's like, right, I am good enough for today. I know that sounds kind of toxic. I didn't mean it in a toxic way, but it just, I feel proud of myself that I've been able to kind of endure a hardship so I can reap the reward of it afterwards. It's just really the challenge of it. And then because I've accomplished this, like winning a gold medal or something, it's just this sense of elation, like, oh my gosh, I I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. And and now I can move on to the next step. And yeah, that's what really brings me that passion is just proving to myself that I can do the things that I set my mind to, and it just makes me happy. So,
Yeah, I totally get that. And with things, because obviously we're recording this as the Olympics are going on as well. I mean, with things
of
like that,
course.
when you see all these athletes making, like all of these accomplishments and these athletes getting these gold medals, like Noah Lyles got this really insane gold medal the other day.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That was insane. And then, watching moments like that, it does make you think in a way, why can't I do that? Why can't I,
Exactly.
have like accomplishments like that to make myself feel proud about what I'm capable of, both physically
Yeah,
and mentally, like it is that sense of accomplishment, like you say. So I
yeah,
totally get that. Um, what I was interested about with you as well in particular is I remember you said when you first started talking to us that
yeah.
about how your parents have a military background and how you've lived in
Oh,
Germany in the past and
yeah,
you've kind of been here, there, and everywhere, really, in a sense.
yeah.
So, do you think from living that lifestyle that that's kind of affected your mindset with how you run and how you train? Do you think, like, from going like from living in Germany to then coming back to the UK? Do you think that's had an effect at all on how you do things?
100%. So before running, I'm not saying I was an unathletic person, but I wasn't like how I am now. I did other sports like gymnastics and whatever. But when I was growing up, my parents would, I'd say, take a military style way of parenting. So rather than getting grounded or like getting my phone taken off me, it would be like, right, you're gonna have to run a lap of the block. That is, I don't know, you've just had an argument with your brother, right, guys? You need to do a lap of the block. So in a way, I feel like because from such an early age, I've just always, been around just like athleticism and yeah, just growing up with military parents, I've always had these athletic figures to look up to. And I see them try so hard in their pursuits. When I was younger, my mom was like my idol. Such an accomplished athlete herself. Um, and so growing up around that was just so inspiring. And it made me want to try harder because I was like, right, the bar is already so high. I need to surpass this bar and set the new one. So when I'm going into training, I'm like, right. I need to, I really need to, it's really hard to describe it, but it's definitely taken its toll on me, I'd say, as an athlete. But I do feel it has like an impact on me as an athlete.
So yeah, you say that? Well, you basically said it yourself, I think. But would you say that that's made you stronger as a result of that, like mentally, in a sense?
I would definitely say so because it is rough. It was definitely hard to say goodbye to people because for us, we moved every 2 years. But again, like I said before, it's character building and it does help you push through those tough times, even though they're different tough times, but they will still kind of translate into one another. So I wouldn't change it for the world, and I do feel it has made me the athlete who I am. So yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, in itself, it's been really good for your
Yeah.
athleticism as well.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, yeah. So obviously, there's like, there are the parts where like it's hard to say goodbye to friends and all that sort of stuff. Like, but there's ups and downs of it, isn't there? So I can,
Yeah.
I mean, like I've not experienced it myself, but I can only imagine like, like how many moments you must have had, like, both good and bad as a result of that. And you're only
Yeah,
17 as well. So,
exactly.
but like you say, it's made you stronger as a person in some senses, and it's made you more
Yeah.
resilient as a result. So, yeah, in that sense, it can only be a good thing.
It
So
also makes me an interesting person at the party. I got all the stories to tell. So,
that's very
yeah.
true. That's very true. Not many people can come out with the stories that you come out with, I'm sure.
What can I say? What can I say?
um, so yeah, I know that this year in particular has been a really busy one for you for all sorts of reasons, like with your exams, your running, and just all sorts, like I say.
Yeah.
Um, so what would you say the standout moments have been from these past few months? And how would you say that's affected you as an athlete?
So I'd say obviously a major one has been my exams. I feel like I went into this year very naive. So heads up to all of you younger students that year 13 is hard. Unlike like in GCSEs, you're able to train through it, push through it, and flourished. I had again a great year when I did my GCSEs. So I didn't think it was going to be much different coming into A levels. However, I thoroughly underestimated the workload and the toll it was going to take. Like, even when you haven't trained on a day, you still feel exhausted just from the mental work you're having to put into your studying, even just your exams. And so that was a shock to the system, I would say, because I genuinely did not expect it to be so strugglesome, so struggle filled. It was really tough. And I really do. It helped me develop a newfound respect for the athletes who did manage to push through it because obviously, it's not one rule for everyone, but and so I do know a lot of people who did so well this year, and I honestly idolize them. That to me is amazing. I couldn't do it, but I know a lot of people who did, and it has definitely helped me to develop like a newfound respect for those people for being able to kind of balance this amazing balancing act.
Yeah, I think a lot of athletes your age realistically do have to multitask. Like there's no other way of putting it. You have got your exams and you've got,
Yeah,
like other pressures in life, that are going against you in a sense that, could affect the way that you train and the way that you can be.
yeah,
It can be overwhelming. Like I totally get
oh,
it. And
yeah,
just you being a teenager as a whole in itself is a struggle as well. Like I've been there myself.
yeah. It's
Um,
balancing even a job, and like personally, my track is half an hour away from my house, so I've got to also factor in an hour's drive and training. And then but if I'm wanting to revise, that's like an extra hour away from revising plus the training time. So a lot of the times I just got a lot of home sessions, so I could just do it from my like front door, just to accommodate the both, I guess. So
so in that sense, you're probably relieved that your exams are done. Am I right?
yeah. Can
Yeah.
see all my track friends again and just kind of feel like I'm more involved in the track community again. I feel like when you don't see anyone, you kind of like feel alone, I guess, because running is a solo sport at the end of the day. But when you go to track, I guess it's like the runner's social club, You get to see all your friends and just be able to relate to your type of people. Do you know what I mean? Like a runner is a type of person, and being around them, I feel like it lifts the euphoria you get from running because you're sharing that experience with other people.
Yeah, so tell us a bit more about that then. So, like you say, it's very much an individual sport, and you do have to compete for yourself at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
how do you overcome that, knowing that you have to do everything for yourself, but then also knowing that you have to compete against your friends and some of the people that you're closest to? How would you go about doing that?
Well, it is a tough one because I don't know, it is hard. Personally, for me, I find if I can bring a really happy energy on the start and the finish line, so we kind of when we're in the race, there's this like mutual acknowledgement. We're in it by ourselves. But as long as before and after, we're making that attempt to, make bridges, have friends, smiling at the camera if someone's there. I feel like it kind of eases it a bit. So if there is, say, a bit of jostling in the race, you're not going to take it personally because you're like, oh, I know she just wants this as much as I do. So I'm not going to take it personally at all. And I know on the finish line, we're going to be hugging, like getting photos later. I think it's just about apart from the racing, just bringing like the most positive energy and, really extending the olive branch so you do make them friends because if you don't, at the end of the day, if you're not gonna, people are only gonna meet you halfway. So as long as you're bringing that energy, then I feel like it doesn't feel as solo of a sport.
Yeah, and that is one of the more beautiful moments of athletics, in my opinion, anyway, when you finish a race and no matter where you come, whether it's you
Yeah,
that's, come out on top or whether your friends have achieved some really big things, like, it's just that sense of community, isn't it? It's
100%,
yeah,
100%.
it's everyone coming together, and it's just which is quite unique in a way because with some other sports you may not necessarily
Yeah,
see that sense of community. And
yeah.
I have to admit, before I started getting into athletics, like I didn't realize like how
Oh, really?
just how big the community was basically, and I didn't
Yeah,
realize how friendly everyone was to one another because I must admit, I thought it would have been one of those sports where like everyone's just in it for themselves, and everyone shuts themselves off from
yeah,
everything around them, and yeah, it's just like that. But that's not the case at all. And yeah, just
yeah,
getting into athletics as a whole, it's made me really appreciate like just the people that are in it, basically.
yeah,
Whether it's the athletes, the coaches, the officials, just everyone wants to help everyone out at the end of the day, even though it is an individual thing. It's weird in that sense, isn't it? How
yeah.
it's
It's a shame coverage of athletics doesn't capture that because like you say, you didn't, I suppose if you're not in the sport, you don't understand it, you don't see it. So, and it is a real shame that like even with the Olympics, you don't see that. You can't, it doesn't translate through the lens at all. Which I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how you could do that, but it would be nice if someday in the future it like people could see the community that you were talking about.
well, I think the answer to that, Tabs, is by doing the sort of vlogs that you do, in a sense, by athletes documenting what they're doing, like
Yeah.
the behind the scenes footage, which you don't necessarily see because,
Mm.
you can watch the Olympics and you can see people medaling and doing all sorts.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily get to see the process that leads up to that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, could you tell us a bit about that, like how your love for vlogging all of your running came about and why it means so much to you?
So, as we've mentioned before, I'm from a military background, and so we would say goodbye to people, but I always wanted to remember people. So my go-to thing when I was young is like, Mom, I need a picture. I need a picture. I need to remember this because I might never see this person again. And this kind of has followed me out throughout my life where even if I go to the park and I meet someone, I'm like, I need a picture to remember this. And then it was only, to be honest, it only started this year where I fully started trying to really get my head down and, get the vlog stick out and whatever. Where I was like, you know what? I want to remember this. I really want, these girls are from hours around the country. So I might not see them for another couple months until the next race. So I was like, I want to remember this. So I'm going to start just taking photos with my friends and then somehow these photos with my friends developed into videos and just as a way of remembering things that I then suddenly found that people wanted to watch the journey as well. I suppose it's more just a see what other people are doing. I'm a nosy person. I love watching Philly Bowden. I love watching Ben Felton because it's really nice to see how is everyone else going about their training life balance. What training do they do? And it's more just as like a way to remember things, I guess. I can look back on the hard sessions and think, it was hard, but you did it, and there's the proof it is in the pudding. So, it's the way of remembering things.
And you've just come back as well from America, haven't you? Do you want to tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that? Because I know you really enjoyed your time over there. What was that all about?
Oh, it was the most amazing time of my life. So last year, I really wanted to go on a running camp. A lot of my friends were going away on holidays to Ibiza and typical teenage holidays. But I was like, but I don't want that because I'm a runner. It's not really gonna. So I was like, the compromise is a running holiday. So I initially found a running camp over in Kenya that my mum wasn't too comfortable with me traveling over there by myself. So she's like, I'll find one for you. And she found this one called the Bowerman Track Club Running Camp. And I don't know if you know, the Bowerman Track Club is like this really, from what I've at least got from it, this really elite club over in Oregon that's like works with like the Nike headquarter area. And they have their own running summer camp. So I basically applied for their half scholarship because on top of the travel cost, it was going to be fairly expensive. And yeah, I managed to get this half scholarship and went over. And it's basically a week-long camp where we had like a very scheduled out day from 6 a.m. till half 10 at night. Every minute of the day was filled with either training, lectures on running, obviously like yoga sessions, nutrition sessions, or activities like rafting. And we did a lot of hiking. We did a load of hiking. And it was genuinely a whole different world. We think England has got a great running community. In America, it's like nothing you've ever experienced before. You've got like 13-year-old like children being like, so I wake up at 5:30 every morning for soccer practice. And then after school, I go to track. There's this culture of athleticism and drive and determination. It was so inspiring, honestly. And when I was flying home, I cried the whole way because not only did I make the greatest of friends, but I was really sad to leave behind that type of person that because they were all like that. They were all so driven and they were a runner through and through. And again, like I say, it was so inspiring and to be around and it made you want to be better. It made you want to push to be better. And I miss them. I still speak to everyone to this day, but if you can go to it, anyone who's listening, I would genuinely recommend it. It was amazing.
Yeah, just the way they do things over in America, it's
Mm.
just so completely different, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean, like you've done the things you've done over there, and then even like the
yeah,
NCAA system they have over there, they take it so seriously,
yeah,
so seriously. I mean, obviously you've got things like Bucks here, and
yeah,
you've got things like that, but yeah, I mean, just the track and field community as a whole over there compared to what we have over here, it's just
yeah.
like realistically, it's just so much more developed over there. I mean,
I feel
that's
like we need like a country school trip to go over to America so everyone can experience it. We all just need to go on the biggest bus ever and just drive over because it's I don't even know it we would have to go up several gears to even come close to what they have to offer, I guess.
yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why you get so many, like people from the UK going over to the US because they want to take it to the next level,
Yeah,
and that is the place to do it, pretty much.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know you had such a for some reason I thought you were going over there for longer than a week. I don't know why I thought that. It feels
A
like
lot of
you were
people,
there and then you came straight back in a way. It was like, oh, she's back already.
yeah. No, a lot of people did. I think it's because when I say training camp, I feel like it makes it sound a lot more serious than it was. Like it was a running camp. We had a session, like every day. People there was the option to do double run days, but it was also at the end of the day like a summer camp. I'm gonna be honest. So I think people saw it as like when people like if you were to go away altitude training, you go for like a month. Whereas again, this was just a summer camp. So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you had the best time over there, and it was so evident just from like the content you were doing and the story
Yeah.
you were doing, and I even love the stories you did where you were like on the plane there, and then you were like,
Yeah.
just like again like that behind the scenes footage of you just getting there and you actually doing what you were doing. It was
Well, I
just
did. I had loads of people ask how did this come about? How can they do it? And I was like, well, you do need to understand. I went to America by myself. I had to stay in a hotel by myself the day before. It was quite a scary thing. I thought I was going to be strong enough to do it, like no complications. I didn't run into any complications, but it was just a very scary process that if you're going to embark on, you need to kind of be like ready to go. But it was my first time on a plane, so maybe that was my fault for going with such a so far away first time, but I made it back. So
your first time on a plane was by doing that.
yeah. Yeah, it was a rough one.
Wow, chucking yourself in the deep end. That is
Yeah. Can't get much worse than 10 hours on a plane. You just can't.
no, you can't. That's I mean, fair play to you. If that's your first experience on the plane,
Yeah.
you can go anywhere on a plane now if that's the case. You know, the fact you did it on your own, the fact you're going from continent to continent,
Yeah.
that's quite impressive, Tabs. I'll
Thank
give you
you. Thank
that.
you.
Generally speaking, then, Tabs, from when you started running in 2021, I mean, it's been on the space of 3 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
Those 3 years, what have been your standout moments, would you say? The moments that you look back on and think, wow, that actually happened, or wow, I actually did that. Or what stands out to you?
So I must admit the main big one that stands out to me was my running my 5K VB at the Mid Cheshire 5K. I had a lovely little reminder of it yesterday because the race actually followed me on Instagram and we had a little message over text. But it was just I went in with it. I went into the race with just let's just do it. It's the end of the season. Let's just full send it. It does not matter what happens. I'd like to PB. I'd just done a park run fairly recently where I managed to take like another like 40 seconds off my personal best. And I was so close to the sub 17 mark. I was like, if I can just dip the 17 barrier, I'm happy. You know, mission accomplished, McDonald's earned. And I was running. I'm not someone who really looks at their watch. Like I'm not even wearing it now because I'm not really a watch person. So I was just running a hard effort. And it was only when I was coming up to the line and I saw the clock that just this I've spoken about euphoria. This was next level. This was as if I'd won the lottery. And this I don't even remember doing it, but I just opened my arms as if I'd won the Olympics. I let out this like flipping loud scream. I was like, Dad, I did it. And I've got thankfully my dad got it on video, but it just meant so much to me. It's crazy how a time can mean so much to you. Because I didn't was nowhere near winning the race or anything, but it just when you put your mind to something and it actually comes true by a considerable margin. I managed to, I think, pull another like 15-second personal best. And it that really meant a lot to me. As from a performance point, I've had many great experiences as a team. Like English schools cross country this year was I had such a great team experience. We all got the face paints out and everything, and it was great. But definitely the 5K I did back in 2023 last year, it was from a performance perspective, just it meant the whole world to me, and it still does now. I can't even comprehend how I did it. Like I don't know what water I was drinking that day, but I need some more of it because it was good.
I was going to ask you, that video of you where you shout out for your dad and cross the line was one of your proudest moments, but you've already answered that question for me.
Yeah, it was honestly like I can't even, and it was funny because I like afterwards I had people like looking over like is this kid all right? Like like there's thousands of us here. You didn't win or anything. What's the big fuss about? But it was also beautiful because my I don't allow my dad to come to races, but under this circumstance, my mum couldn't come. So my dad actually seeing me perform for like one of the first times in real life, for it being such a special one as well, that meant a lot to me as well to have that experience with my dad. So it's great. It was really nice.
So how did those moments motivate you then, would you say? How do you look back on experiences like that and then reflect on that to help you with like your training or any competition you might have coming up? How does that motivate you?
Well, when I'm training something, I've got I don't know if I've got a good mental imagery, but what I do is I can see it so vividly at the finish line or the end of the rep or the end of a run. I can just picture my goal. Like I'm trying to think of an example. I'm trying to think of an example. And I just picture those moments for some reason at the finish line. So it's like you've just got to keep pushing to the line and it's there, it's yours. And and that's what I love about the videos and the vlogs is it helps me remember things. It helps you look back on them. And I really would recommend it to everyone. It's not silly, it's not embarrassing. I mean, it might feel a bit awkward in the moment, if people are like looking at you or you're kind of, cheesing it out. But I would really recommend it because because I've made videos, so detailed videos, I can look back in so much detail rather than it just being a number that's stuck on my wall or like a time that's on power of 10. I can relive the experience, and and it's motivating because I can see it like play out all over again. Like that scream. If I didn't have that on video, how would I ever, how would I ever be able to, relive that, and other people see that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's just nice to have those things to look back on, isn't it? And
Absolutely.
you've got, because obviously there's other youth ambassadors like yourself. I mean, like Joseph Grange, for example. Joe, I mean, he's a distance runner just like you, and he interviewed you actually, didn't he? A little.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Yeah, that was really fun. That was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, no, you got people like him, like he interviews all these athletes because he loves to know how people do things basically, because obviously everyone's different with how they prepare for things and how they actually like execute things in a sense.
Yeah. We've definitely talked about that with the Olympics. Some athletes, you look at them, they're running and motionless. And then when they finish, it's like they've been saving it for the finish. Whereas other athletes, you see them running and they've got this grimace on their face. You can see you feel like you're in the race yourself. And that's what I love about Joe and his podcast is you can see, how people approach it as well.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's great. I mean, I spoke to him myself a few days ago actually for one of
Yeah.
these interviews as well, and like he does steeplechase, distance. It's quite a few to be fair, doesn't he? And yeah,
Yeah.
another one. He really gets himself invested in all of this.
Yeah.
And well, much like you, he does the podcasts, you do the vlogs.
Yeah.
No, like it's just nice to see these things where you get to hear people's stories basically of how they of how they just like led their athlete journey in a sense.
Well,
And
it's rewarding because I get messages a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, that's you really help seeing someone else train. It inspires me to keep training, even though even if it's just an easy run, just the fact that you know they know everyone else is doing it, so they're like, I need to do it as well. And when people tell me they're inspired, that makes me want to do it more. And it's just this round robin of like, I help you, you help me, you help them, we help each other. It's just, it's a really beautiful thing, social media. And I am really glad to kind of be in the generation of it. I know people like kind of talk down on it a lot, but I think it's great. I love it.
oh, 100%. I mean, and that is what social media is good for, as you say. It's just seeing people just egging each other on, basically.
Yeah,
It's a lovely thing to see, especially when, like people struggle with injuries and stuff like that. For people to, just to help with that side of things, it's really motivating, like
yeah,
compete myself, but I can only imagine when you have people there behind you every step of the way, I can imagine
yeah.
it's all the difference. So
100%, yeah. It's like when I was hit by the car, that I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is just gonna be a lonely solo road. But because I had so many like friends and supporters on social media, I was like, damn, I'm not alone. I'm still here. It's just part of my story. But without social media, you would have never have had that. So it's a beautiful thing. So thank you to the creators, whoever they were, who made social media be a thing.
absolutely. And yeah, as you just said, I mean, that car accident in itself, I think a lot of other people can be with me on this one. When we saw that happened, we were just our jaws just dropped because we couldn't quite believe that had happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know.
obviously, like, yeah, just like you can say as much or as little as you want, but could you tell us a bit about that and how that all panned out in the end?
The irony was I was on the way home from physio, so I have this like partnership with the hip hub at Hull University. So if you're local, go check them out. They're really good. And I was on the way home from a sports rehab appointment. I was on my bike. I was coming around it was like a box junction at a crossing, and I was cycling the crossing, and some car came and hit me from behind. the damage wasn't really bad, but it's still, I still fractured my elbow. I managed to get a lovely black eye, and it was just not a great way to spend my like Saturday or something. So, it is what it is, and it could have been a lot worse than it was, and I'm just happy to still be here, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah,
And I go for it, so,
I think you vlogged about it like the day after or a few
I
days
did, yeah.
after. And like I say, my jaw
Yeah,
dropped because I was like, oh my God.
yeah. But again, it's something I can look back on and be like, oh my gosh, do you remember when that happened? And now here I am. It's just, it was the reason I vlogged the few days after was because I don't I'm not a sedentary person. I don't just like kind of sitting doing nothing. I still wanted to even just go for a walk, and I think that's what I did. I think I just went for a walk just to get out, get the fresh air, and just this is I am not like a car. I'm not the car accident. I'm just Tabby who happened to get in a minor situation. I still want to carry on with life, as if nothing happened.
Yeah, and obviously that's just such a good attitude towards it because it can things like that can really like for obvious reasons really affect someone quite deeply. But
Oh gosh, yeah.
yeah, you are able to overcome that really well from what I saw anyway. I don't know for
Yeah.
sure. From what I saw, like you overcame that so well given the circumstances. And
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's just been a really up and down year for you. And but again, though, like that's just life, I suppose, for a lot of people, isn't it? And it shapes you. It shapes you into the person you are today.
It
So
helps you sleep as well. Do you know what I mean? These low moments definitely will help me, and I'm sure help everyone. Like they'll help you appreciate the high moments, and even just the hard training sessions when you're thinking, oh, I don't want to get up anymore. I don't want to wake up for this long run. You can like call back on these past memories and think, no, but I remember when there was a me who would do nothing more than to be going out for that long run currently. So, it is in a round way, life and running are very similar. They just, they interlink with one another.
oh yeah, absolutely. And again, you've got to remember you've only been doing this in a professional capacity in a way for 3 years. Like, you athletes that have been doing this since they were like 10 or 11. And,
Yeah.
personally, you've not been doing it for that long. So you have achieved a lot in that short space of time when you think about it. So,
Yeah.
you've been through a lot, but at the same time, it it shapes you into who you are today. And you're
Yeah.
strong. Like you've just come back from America. You've had that really amazing experience there. So
Yeah.
with with that, this is going to
The world's the oyster, basically. That's what we're trying to say is just, you know, never limit yourself. Do what others won't. I always say that. Do what others are afraid to do. Be the difference. I want to just be the person that when everyone's got kids, they're telling their kids, I used to know Tabby, I used to know her. So, just, that I don't know how to try. I'm trying to so I'm getting a bit inspirational now. This is getting a bit too deep. I need to just, calm it down. But yeah, just, live life to the fullest, basically.
absolutely 100%.
Mm.
So to round things off, then Tabs,
Yeah.
when you think about this past year you've had
Yep.
and everything that you've overcome and everything you've accomplished, what is it in general that has filled you with pride the most? What moments have you had where you've been really proud of yourself for overcoming something or achieving something, whatever it might be? And ultimately, I guess, what makes you proud to be you?
Oh, now that is a tough one. I'd say I'd say I'm proud of my first year of running and going into competitions for being so brave, because if you've never been on like a national cross country start line, they are scary, let me tell you. And going from not even running to then diving straight into the deep end. It's I still get scared now. I'm literally on that start line, like wishing I had a helmet on because, it's scary. And I'm proud that like younger me, when I was like 14, was, so optimistic and like ready to dive in the deep end about that. And because if I didn't, if I was too scared, I probably wouldn't be where I was. And I'm happy I had the courage to kind of do that. So that makes me proud of like, myself for taking the leap, I guess.
You know, yeah, I never even thought of it like that, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it is scary as soon as you hit that track. I mean, I sound like I'm talking from experience. I'm not. But that I get these, like you onto that track, especially if you've got all these spectators on the side, just like,
Yeah. It's
egging.
more the girls with like 20-inch spikes on their feet as well. And I've had my fair share of falls. So I'm thinking, gosh, if I go down, this is gonna hurt pretty bad if someone stands on me. So I just need to like hell go as fast as I can away from danger.
But do you kind of like single everyone out in a sense? Like when you're on the track, is it basically right? I'm doing this for myself. I'm not taking in anything around me. I need to focus on what I'm doing here. Is that kind of how you approach it?
Yeah. Yeah, I must admit I am definitely a chatter on the start line, but that's more to just ease nerves. But when I'm running, it is me and me only, I'm afraid. I'm not an elbow person. I would never go out of my way to jeopardize anyone else. But I definitely try just zone out into this other realm. I guess I've got my own like spider verse or something, the running verse we'll call it. Just to lock in and just enter the pain cave and be okay with that and just kind of forget the world's there basically. It always goes quiet. I always at BMCs, I swear I always hear the music like when you're just tottering about, and then when you're actually running, whether I mean they might shut it off, maybe they shut it off, but I swear I don't hear it.
Well, again, like I can't imagine it, but yeah, like it's such a surreal thing to finally, especially when it's something you've been training and preparing for so long, to actually be where you need to be. I assume it's kind of like a, oh my God, I'm here sort of moment.
Yeah,
And yeah, no, like you said, that will talk into your teammates, saying like, that's how you deal with your nerves, and obviously
yeah,
athletes have other ways of dealing with their nerves, and because it ultimately it is nerve wracking, and you've got to do what you've got to do in a sense to try and make
yeah,
it easier for you, just so that you're less nervy when because you don't do a race and then be filled with nerves because that is going to affect how you perform.
yeah.
So yeah.
Jack, I think we need to get you to a park run so you can experience this with us. I think we need to do a Neuff park run or something just so we can have a group experience of a park race. Even though it's not a race, it's a run, but a race.
We both need to pitch together, Tabs. I'm all in for that. That is what we
I
do.
think we should do it. I think we should do it.
So that's awesome, Taz. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this and just for talking to me. It's been so good to hear like your experience on things, how you've dealt with everything, and yeah,
Yeah.
like myself and I'm sure loads of other people just are going to wish you well for the months and the years to come because there is so much more to come. So yeah, like I
Thank
said.
you for listening to me so much. So like I say, thank you for listening because I know I've been ranting a little bit. And it's honestly been my pleasure to talk to you. I always love interacting with you guys. So it's really the pleasure is mine, honestly, it's mine.
And yeah, just made my day just by saying that in itself. So that's all I need to hear. Thank you so much. That's been awesome. Thank you.